Okay, we're going to talk about services today. And of course, you must realize by now that the U.S. economy is a service economy. We've gone from manufacturing to focusing on services, and that's what we'll talk about today. And my background, I have marketed and sold both tangible and intangible products, and services can be much more challenging. The process is the same. It's just that you have nothing to hand to a consumer so they can see it and feel it and look at it and smell it and taste it. There's nothing there. It's all based upon you, and that means you have to be a lot more creative and certainly have to use some imagination and make sure they visualize your service. Okay, let's look at our objectives for the chapter. Describe the characteristics of services and how we try to classify services, and that's challenging in itself. Look at the service quality, and that's, again, we've talked about quality and the perception of quality, and it is an individual perception. And then we'll talk about marketing of these things called services or intangible products. Marketing what isn't there. Yes, indeed, we do market what isn't there. It's something that is going to happen, something that's in the future. For example, if you're going to a restaurant, it's a service. You don't get it until it's in the moment. So it's a lot more challenging to think about that. Intangible services and other experience-based products that cannot be touched or smelled or felt or seen or anything else. When you go get your hair cut, when you go to a movie, those are all services. Many of you may very well end up in a service position, and you'll find that's a lot more challenging, such as some of our financial advisors or anyone working in banking or working in services. So it does get to be more challenging. Well, let's define a service. That's always important to start. Services are acts, efforts, or performances exchanged from producer to user without ownership rights. You can't have ownership rights because there's nothing to own. Once again, it's about the time. It's about the in the moment, so you can't own it. And look at this fact. Many of you, again, will end up in the service sector. 75% of employment in 2010 was all in services. So many of you will be that. This is a service right now. When you get an education, what we are giving you is a service. Services may target consumers or businesses. Either sector, the B2B or B2C, use services, so they're relevant to both sides of that. This is a very important aspect of services because these are the characteristics of services, and this is why they're so challenging. If I were going to look at anything as far as what are the differences between products and services, this is it right here. Otherwise, everything we've talked about as far as the research process, how we go about looking at segments, that's all the same. What's different are these characteristics of services versus products. They are intangible. Certainly, you cannot look at them, see them, feel them. They're perishable. They are in the moment, so you can't store a service or keep it. Variability. This is what always makes me a little nervous when I go get my hair cut, because if my stylist has had a bad day, you never know what I might look like when I walk out of there. And inseparability, you cannot pull the service away from the service provider. They are hand in hand with each other. Marketing services, and again, since there's nothing that you can hand to this buyer, consumer, you have to use imagination. Services are required. You have to be very visual when you're marketing a service. Vivid imagery in advertising and so on. So look at advertisements, classified ads, those sorts of things for services versus what we do with products. They're very, very different. Characteristics of a service. The service encounter, now that's the interaction between the consumer and whoever is providing the service. And those encounter dimensions are the physical aspect of wherever you may be. If you're in your accountant's office or your financial planner's office or your professor's office, there's that physical dimension of where is this being provided. The social contact. a service has to be provided by someone. It isn't there without someone providing it. So that's that social contact dimension. And the quality of service is only as good as its worst employee, and that's very true. You look at organizations, corporations, nonprofits. Look at some of the organizations you may belong to as a student. And your student organization, again, is only as good as the worst person involved in that organization. And unfortunately, those people tend to get a lot more attention than the really good people. Okay, classifying services. You can have goods-dominated products, and that's where there are tangible products providing the services, such as the, shall we say, color. If anyone should use color on their hair, I wouldn't know about that. But if you have color put on your hair, or the scissors that are used in the cut, those are the products that go with the service. Equipment or facility-based. These are things such as, again, your accountant's office, or if you go someplace to have a party and you have to rent the hall. Or people-based services, increasing importance as people lack their time or expertise to do things on their own. That's why we're becoming more of a service-based economy, and why many of the positions now are in the services sector. This is a very important piece of services or products. The core service, again, we've talked about this, is the benefit a customer gets from the service. When I get my hair cut, it's because I just look really gorgeous when they finish. Just say, uh-huh. Or the augmented service. Again, those are the pieces that are attached to that core service. It's what we've really focused on in the last few years, is what other services can you provide, such as if you're unhappy with perhaps a restaurant meal, they'll give you your money back, or they'll give you a free appetizer or something like that. Those are the augmented sorts of services. Servicescape, that's a fairly new concept in marketing, and there's quite a bit of research going on in that now, and that's the environment in which the service is being offered. And, realize that many situations you have services and products combined. Think about buying something in a retail store. A lot of services, a lot of environment, and it's the environment in which the service is delivered, and where that service encounter is taking place. Servicescapes influence purchase decisions, service quality evaluations, and customer satisfaction. A lot more attention being placed on that servicescape today as far as what surrounds the service. Oh, websites, do they ever influence our perceptions? You think about the website as part of the service. Even when you're buying a product, that website is the service that perhaps surrounds the product. And you think about how critical the website is. Look how many times you go someplace to just get information about the product you're trying to buy. And that is part of the service that surrounds the product. And many times that's the first place you get any information. And if it's badly done, if it's difficult to navigate, or heaven forbid it crashes, like the system does frequently, as we know, not a real good service encounter. Search engine optimization. You have to be able to direct consumers to your website. So that's part of that service encounter. Providing quality service. Again, you want people to go away from the encounter being satisfied. You want when they leave the restaurant, you want those customers to say, boy, I can't wait to go back. You have to look at expectations. What did you expect to happen when you went in that restaurant? This is especially important for brand new service encounters. So think about those sorts of things. Customers are all different, all unique. They expect different things. They want the service to be different. Not all of them are going to want or expect the same things. So you have to think about that variability. And you are never, ever, ever going to satisfy everyone. We know that. Service quality attributes. Those are the characteristics that we look at before we purchase the service. And you can put these attributes together during the service encounter or afterwards. Characteristics that are difficult to evaluate even after they have been experienced, that's something you have to really consider, is how do we ensure that the customer goes away thinking this was a quality encounter. Service quality. There's a lot of work on that today, since we did the quality movement back in the early 90s. And many ways to measure service quality. Mystery shoppers. I did that many years ago when I was in my undergrad program. A bank actually hired me to go around to all their branches and open new accounts. So they actually gave me real life cash, and they had me go around to open accounts at each of their branches. And I would go in, and they told me how to behave, what to do, and then I was to evaluate all of the branches. And that was an interesting thing to do, and they actually made changes based upon what I came back and told them. Lost customers. If the service quality is bad, you're going to lose customers. Look at that as a metric. How many customers have we lost? I'm going to go to gap analysis for just a moment. Now, gap analysis is something that looks at the difference between what someone expects and what they actually receive. So that, again, is a very, very important factor in service quality. You have certain expectations. They either exceed them or they don't exceed them, and that gap between the expectation and reality is what ServQual measures. And then critical incident technique, that's looking at what was the most relevant, most important, most critical part of the situation and analyzing that and see what went well or what didn't go well. This is ServQual. This is the there are some marketing academics actually who put this together, and they've been using this for many years, the ServQual scale, and it's a survey, it's a questionnaire, and you have consumers complete this after they've had the service encounter. And what they have found over probably 2 decades of collecting data with this scale is that there are 5 dimensions to service quality. If you look at them, that makes a lot of sense. Tangibles, the products that are connected to the service. Reliability, do you get what you expect? Responsiveness, are the employees responsive? Do they show up on time? Do they do what they're supposed to do? Assurance that you're going to get what you expect. And empathy is that they really understand you. Future of services, boy, I wish I could predict that one. Service is the core deliverable now for every product or service that we have. I can't imagine any product that doesn't have some service component to it, and vice versa. We will continue to grow as a service economy. That's something to think about for career purposes. If you look at changing demographics, globalization, think about globalization as far as developing countries, less developed countries, as they emerge into higher developed countries, that they're going to become certainly more service-oriented. That's a lot more opportunity both for marketers, for companies, but also for careers and for employment. Technological advances in services, clearly there will be more and more of those. And the fact that we're going to have an awful lot of information involved is part of what's going to go on with services. So that's it for services. Again, it's pretty much the same process, but just some different pieces because it is a service. And I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.